Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whiskey Wednesday Show with your hosts Ken Tizzard and Music for Goats. Brought to you in full color and stereo sound with amplification provided by Trainer. Broadcasting into the world from Storyhouse Studios in Campbellford, Ontario, you'll hear the best in old country, folk, Americana, punk rock, and 80s music delivered into your homes every week for free. And don't forget your regular dose of new and original songs from Music for Goats. Never be alone on a Wednesday night again, 8 p.m. Eastern and 9:30 for those of you in Newfoundland. Join the Whiskey Wednesday regulars on Facebook to be a part of the conversation, or watch on YouTube as well. Pour a drink, a cup of tea, or a nice cold long tooth. Roll up your best smoke and sit back and relax. Don't forget to hit the share button to help spread the word. The Whiskey Wednesday Show, every week. Cheers. And we're on, just like that. Good Lord, just like that, I say. I've been sitting here for like 9 hours waiting. Hey, everybody. Almost Christmas in present. First message of the night. Almost time for Christmas in prison with Mr. Grant. Yeah. We were just talking about that.
Me back next week, I think.
We were just discussing that last week as we started working on Jane's tune for the Aaron show, and also putting together Christmas Ain't the Same, which I'd forgotten we wrote and recorded and put out. In fact, we put out a full Christmas record that I'd kind of forgotten about. Now, when I listen to it, I still can't believe we did that. Oh, my good.
Yeah, now we have to learn it all over again.
I know. Like, let's listen to a whole whack of Jim Reeves and like steal all of his little harmony lines on the fiddles and the violins and the backups. And oh, man, it doesn't sound anywhere near as good as Jim Reeves, the stuff that we did. But
that's quite true, so I don't think we should bother doing that again.
Well, it's Christmas time. We got to do something. I mean, we can only do the Red Baron so many times. It is, however, November 29th. It is not, in fact, Christmas time yet. Tonight's guest on the show is Rick Mercer, which we're really excited about. Hey, Ron. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Steve. Jeannie. Nice to see everybody. Yeah, we got Rick on. It's a nice interview we did. It's in two parts. We're going to play a couple tunes. We're also going to dedicate all the music tonight to Newfoundland's great Ron Hines, and we're going to play some Ron tunes, and we're going to talk with Rick, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to hang out. Hey, Steve, your onions, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you back online. It's been a while since I've seen you in the flesh, there, buddy. I hope you're doing all right. So we're going to do some Ron Hines songs tonight. We're going to start with a song called Judgment, is it? Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing first? Okay, cool. I can do that. I got a whole world of judgment on me now. Well, I am cursed and cold, a craven coward, of this I will avow. Well, I treasure my notoriety. I'm the man no man wants to see. Still, it's better to be famous for the wrong I've done tonight than to be nobody all my life. I did it all for fortune and for fame. Now I'm the man. I shot and I killed Jesse James. Everybody knows me now for sure. Every meal's a feast, every empress is a whore, and it's better to be famous for the wrong I've done tonight than to be a nobody all my life. I see his face forever in my dreams. I see me shoot him with a gun. It was a gift from him to me, and I did it all for fortune and for fame. Now I'm the man. I shot and I killed Jesse James. Everybody knows me now for sure. Every meal's a feast, every empress is a whore, and it's better to be famous for the wrong I've done tonight than to be a nobody all my life.
Forever in my dreams, I see me shoot him with a gun. It was a gift from him to me, and I got a whole world of judgment on me now. Oh, I am cursed and called a craven coward. Of this I will avow. I treasure my notoriety. I'm the man no man wants to see. Still it's better to be famous for the wrong I've done tonight than to be nobody all my life. Than to be nobody all my life. I did it so I wouldn't be nobody all my life.
Little Ron Hines, Judgment to start the night off. Oh, it's a little bit of fun. Oh, I'm just noticing I've got everything askew here. Still getting used to the new desk. You know, I'm loving it. It's fantastic. Ron Bizanet found the screaming goat. Of course you did, Ron. You're the first person always to find it. Eric says, happy peace to Canada from Switzerland? No, where's Eric?
He's a Dominican.
A Dominican. I just see red and blue.
I see red and white.
Do you see red and white on the flag? Well, I see the white in the middle. I see the blue on the sides. So I guess that's the Dominican flag.
I guess it's red, white, and blue, isn't it?
It's, yeah, I see a plus sign in
Oh, I
red,
see.
and I automatically thought it was Switzerland.
Okay.
You know, Steve Ostolfalo, thank you. Yes, these toques are. Oh, it's the Watchman toque. Yeah. These are cool. These are cool. I like them a lot. Well, we've got the regular gang here. It's lovely to see everybody. Please chatter amongst yourselves and have some fun whilst we do what we do here on the Whiskey Wednesday show. Mr. Grant, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine.
How was the drive across town? The weather's been saying, like on the news, they've been saying it's just terrible out. Like
The drive was fine. It's not so bad out here.
It's not so bad out here?
Having to scrape the windows. Oh man, I hate.
Oh yeah, was there some ice?
Yeah, to get back into that.
Ice scraping, yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
I've seen those little disc things that the people are using now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're good or not. They looks a bit like a fad, like the hula hoop or the internet, you know?
Or skateboards.
Or skateboards,
Yeah.
exactly. We'll get into that later, old man.
Take it easy there,
How have
Sonny.
you been? What's going on with you?
I'm just fine, thank you very much. I didn't have to scrape at all. It wasn't that cold when I came in, and besides which the VW has remote start, so.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does. A
kind of-
man of leisure like yourself.
I know, exactly. That's right. I have nothing better to do but to spend my money.
David, how are you?
I'm fantastic, so thank you.
You were telling me that your aunt may be watching tonight.
She is. Eileen was watching.
Aunt Eileen?
Yeah.
Well, Aunt Eileen, we are happy to have you here.
All the way from Montreal.
All the way from Montreal.
Oh, she's your cool aunt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All the way
She's
from
the-
Montreal. Do you have to be from Montreal to be the cool aunt? Do you have to be from Montreal to be the cool aunt? Is
They're
she
They're
the-
all from Montreal.
it
It's
helps.
Oh,
right
okay.
in
So it's not
Minnesota.
because she's Montreal that
No.
she's cool.
Yeah, because David's not cool at all.
I see. I see.
Not as lame as they get. I try to get tips from her to be cool, but
Right. Yeah. They Montreal are sick cool, man.
oh
I
yeah.
remember the first time I went to Montreal, I was just blown away by how cool everybody looked. And they all dressed so fine. Everybody looked so good. It's just like girls and guys are just like, oh my god, everybody looks fucking excellent.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on
They
here?
all have that flair. The je ne
They
sais
do,
quoi.
yeah, they do. It's a something.
It's a thing.
anyways, It's,
Oh man, you should have seen Expo '67.
That was really cool.
I didn't see that.
The gals were hot in 1967. Whoa.
I bet they were.
They were. I think they've always been.
Montreal.
Montreal has a certain something to it.
But back then
It's
we could
definitely
leer without
international.
looking perverted, right?
No, you still look perverted, but everybody
I
just
did?
accepted it. We're gonna do the Ron Hines signature song tonight. This is the song that warranted him the nickname, the Man of 1,000 Songs. For those of us who had the pleasure of knowing Ron, you could understand how true this song is.
He's got a crimson red tattoo and keeps it hidden just above his t-shirt sleeve. It's a broken heart and the inscription reads, "No love songs if you please." But he don't really mean that. It's his only cheeky tongue. He stands up and sings for them every night. He's the man of 1,000 songs. He knows the streets like he knows his last name. He knows the city from the wrong side out. He knows that time is cruel and any man's a fool who hides the truth behind his mouth. He knows the Duke of Earl, he knows my girl, and the house of the rising sun. And the opening line on his marquee sign reads, "The man of 1,000 songs." Nice boys. He knows an old hotel where the desk clerk will sell you your soul back reasonably cheap. Or this guy you can call when you're crawling a wall and the whole town's asleep. He don't promise what he don't deliver. He keeps it all in the easy keys. He don't dream beyond his expectations, but he's got the stance down to a T. He's got a friend in the backstage alley, got just the thing to make the night move along. He's taking all requests like you might have guessed. He's the man of 1,000 songs. He knows an old hotel where the desk clerk will sell your soul back reasonably cheap. Or this guy you can call when you're crawling a wall and the whole town's asleep. He don't promise what he don't deliver. He keeps it all in the easy keys. He don't dream beyond his expectations, but he's got the stance down to a T. He's got a friend in the backstage alley, got just the thing to make the night move along. He's taking all requests like you might have guessed. He's the man of 1,000 songs. Whoa, whoa, he's the man of 1,000 songs.
As I explained to Dave Dave was just recently learned this song, as I was explaining to him, just wait till I do those 3 OOs at the end, and it's after the third one. And then tonight I just look over and I'm thinking, I'm not singing it. How does Dave know where to end? He picked up. Tony Corkery. Tony Corkery. Sorry, my glasses, brother. Nice to see you, Tony. That's some fine looking pups you got there. One looks like a little Stanley. There. So that was the Amanda Brown. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. We're all doing fine. Now Debbie just said hi, Ron and Clark. I don't know if I haven't seen Clark here, man, but if you're here, brother, send him my love to you. As always, it is that time where we're going to start the show. Start to get out of the music and throw a little bit of Rick Mercer at you. We'll be doing some back and forthing tonight. The Rick is in 2 parts. Hey, there he is, Clarky Hancock. How you doing, my friend? God, that profile picture of you that you're using these days, from like when you were probably 18, I'm thinking, and you had just come from like Lemoyne's School of Hairdressing, and Val Hansen was a student there, and she'd cut your hair and put some highlights in, and made you into the perfect preppy punk, new wave. Just sort of god that you were at the time. Look at you, Clark. You were so beautiful. And you haven't really changed. Your hair's the same. You should go back to Lemoyne's. You should grow your hair out and go back to Lemoyne's. Let them do the job on you. Anyways, speaking of Lemoyne's and St. John's and back home and all that stuff, let's dig into the first episode of the first part of the Rick Mercer interview. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whiskey Wednesday show. I am super excited again to have back for the second time old friend and notable Canadian presence, Mr. Richard Mercer. Anybody ever call you Richard? I've never heard anybody call you Richard.
I was just quickly scanning my background because I thought, have I? Oh, no, it's all good. No one ever called me Richard. Never. There was a brief period where I was Dick, and I put the kibosh on that.
Right.
I didn't want to be Dick because my uncle Dick was Richard and he became Dick. So yeah, thank God I dodged that bullet.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So you've been Rick as long as I've been.
Anyone ever call you Kenneth?
My mom. My mom
Like,
and actually, what's that?
All the time or just special occasions?
When she said Kenneth, I knew that there was something I needed to tune into,
Right, gotcha.
It was the, you might be in trouble or you better bloody listen type of thing, right?
Right, I gotcha.
Yeah, but no,
It's
it was
good to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Somebody tried Kenny at one point, but that didn't work as well. That was like the Kenny that got kiboshed immediately.
No,
yeah,
you don't want that.
No,
nothing against the Kennys out there, but no.
There's nothing against the Kennys, but it's just like I knew some Kennys growing up, and they were just scrappy little dickheads, they're just like always looking to fight and scrap, and
yeah, that wasn't you.
No, wasn't me.
You were a man of peace.
I was
a boy of peace.
I was a man of
peace.
I was a man of chatting, is what I was. I could talk my way out. Rick, you've been busy doing press, and you're on a book tour currently. You have a new book out. I have here your old book, which we chatted about years ago, talking to Canadians. And now you've got a new book out, which picks up where this book lays off. And this is just...
I don't have a copy.
What's that?
I don't have a copy.
I've got, right behind me here. Look at that. Boom, there it is. It's on the TV.
There it is.
Just like that magic.
I got Gordon Pinson's book back there, but...
Oh, was any good?
I have a box, but they're downstairs. I'll just, whatever. Yes, the new book is out. I'm on a tour. The last book I didn't tour. There was no real press, no in-person press because of the pandemic, and there were no book signings, and there were no performance events. This time I just did Victoria, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm doing Ottawa. I've already done Halifax. I did St. John's. I did Winnipeg, Sarnia. I did, I've done a lot of spots. It's been great. It's been good.
You've been tying some of these in with your old friend Jan Arden, who you talk about a lot in the book as well.
Yeah, Jan has a full chapter in the book, and I bumped into Jan in Palm Springs, of all places. It was my only time I've left the country since the pandemic. I haven't traveled at all, but when I was finishing this book, I needed to get out of the house. I needed to I wanted to go somewhere warm for 2 weeks because I knew I was just going to be working. And then I looked at Jan's Instagram, and it was very similar to the view I had. And I texted her, and she said, "Oh, yes, I am in Palm Springs." And she was literally 3 doors down, which is bizarre. And we went and had lunch, and I told her when my book was coming out, and she said, "My book's coming out that week as well. We should do some events." And flash forward, we had 1,100 people at the Chan Center at University of British Columbia. We sold out Winnipeg. We sold out everywhere we went. We just did 4 events, but they were great fun. It was fun being on the road with her, and she's good at being on the road, as you can imagine. And you know what it's like being on the road. You only want to be on the road with people who are in the lobby at 5:50 a.m. when they say they're going to be, and that's her.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I hear I don't know Jan at all, but everybody that I know that has any contact with her, she seems like one of the most superhuman beings on the planet.
Yeah, she's lovely. She gets in trouble a lot. Like she was traveling with her was a little interesting because she was tweeting about when Pierre Poilievre spoke into the microphone on a WestJet flight. And he was like, "Well, there's liberal turbulence ahead, but don't worry, we're going to fix it," blah, blah, blah. And Jan was off her head tweeting about it. And then she got all worked up and said, "I'm never flying WestJet ever again." And I texted her immediately and was like, "Take that down. You live in Western Canada. You're in show business." So I was like leaving. I can't remember where I had to leave and fly to Calgary. And I got up at 8:30 in the morning and flew WestJet direct. And Jan had to get up at like 5 in the morning and fly to Vancouver, wait 2 hours and then fly back. So that's got to work itself out. But she's a wonderful person. Yeah, she's great.
Well, that's awesome. So you're out on the road. You got your new book, which did hit the #1 on the bestseller list a couple weeks ago. Is it still? I'm sure it's still up there.
It's up there, but we were #1 for 2 weeks. And then we were hit by Hurricane Getty, of course.
Right.
Because Geddy Lee has a book out as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, usually every time I've ever done a book, you always have to worry about the hockey player. There's a big hockey player book
Right.
that comes out every Christmas, and everyone buys it for their dads. So that's what you gotta deal with. And my publisher said to me about 2 months ago, the good news is there's no hockey book this year. I was like, wicked. She said, there is a Geddy Lee book. I was like, shit. In this country, well, I mean, his book is now a bestseller all over the world, but obviously in this country, there's a lot of interest in reading Geddy's book.
You can't compete with the likes of Rush. I mean, come on. You know that of all people.
It's fine. There's
Yeah.
actually a chapter in the book about Rush.
Yes.
And I was never a crazy Rush fan, although I took drum lessons to sound like Neil Peart, and in grade 7 and grade 8 from Don Weary, who you probably know or remember.
Yeah, I remember Don
the
Weary.
percussionist. And I wanted to sound like Neil Peart from Rush, and me and Timmy Green would listen to their records. And of course, I quickly realized I would never sound like Neil Peart from Rush, and dropped that. But Neil Peart came on the show. I mean, the show is called, I should talk about the book, I guess. The book is called The Road Years, and it's about my experiences. And some of them are insane, like Neil Peart coming on the show. And Neil he's no longer with us, of course, he's deceased, but Neil famously had a pretty tragic life. And last number of years of his life, he suffered great loss. He lost his wife and child, and he retired from being a rock star. He was only a rock star when he was behind the drums. And other than that, he didn't do media. He didn't do meet and greets. He didn't do anything. He just didn't. He just gave that up, which I don't blame him. But he agreed to come on the show, and he was funny, and he was self-deprecating, and he gave me a drum lesson. I mean, on the Rush drum kit, which spun around and had gold plates on it, and did a private drum solo for myself and Don and John, who I traveled with. I mean, those experiences, you'll never forget those, but that's one of the ones in the book for sure.
And that's what the book is about. It's about this 15-year period where you started after you started the Mercer Report up, and this was highly directed by Gerald in the way it was going to go, and it was going to be, like I've heard you say in several instances, it's either going to live or die on the road. And
the show would live or die on the road. There was going to be comedy, there was going to be sketches, there was going to be the rants, there was going to be all the things that I did previous, but Gerald said that's not going to make the show famous or not. If it's going to become a famous show, it's going to happen on the road, and it did. And I knew it would work. I was nervous because I didn't have a lot of experience just being dropped into a place where I'm talking to an oyster fisherman. But it turns out I like that, and I like taking an oyster fisherman, putting him on television, and making him look like a rock star, making him come across great. Because quite often the people I had on the show had never been on TV before, probably never will be on TV again, maybe never even saw a television camera, for God's sakes. But they trusted me, and I think I don't have a lot of skills, but I became very good at taking those people and making them look great and getting a story out of them, even though they weren't the drummer for Rush.
Right.
And that was, and so the show's about that. It's also about, the book's about that. It's also about, the prime ministers I cross paths with, and, just regular folks. And, it's all the stories that I would tell if I was sitting around telling stories, basically.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, like I said, it's from farming and fishing to fighter jets. I mean, you do everything, and like when that time you got pulled around in that car and stuff, what was that thing called?
It was called the Train of Death. We determined after a couple of years that we started doing these segments that they dubbed Host in Peril, because they determined that, or we determined the audience really liked it when I was either in danger or in great discomfort or terrified or unable to do a task that other people could do. And so we call them Host in Peril. And that's why I ended up doing demolition derbies or window washing the Scotiabank Tower or any of these things that freak people out. But things got a little carried away when I actually thought I was going to die doing something called the Train of Death. And what went through my mind, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to die or end up in a wheelchair, or I'm going to be about to be in a serious car accident, was that if I die, it would be a comedy death. It'd be one of those things that
Right.
people would just joke about because they'd say, oh, Rick Mercer died. Oh, that's terrible. How did he die? Was it his heart? No, he was doing the train of death. It's like, oh, and that didn't work out, did it? I remember watching a news anchor report that the president of the Canadian Exotic Pet Owners Association of Canada was eaten by his pet lion that he kept as a pet in his living room, and watching the news anchor report that without smiling or laughing. That's a comedy death. That's what I was in for with the train of death. Train of death, by the way, quickly, 3 cars chained together, like 25 feet of chain in between each car. The car in the front has an engine, no brakes. The car in the middle has no brakes, no engine. The car at the back where I was has no engine, but brakes. And when you hit the brakes, you don't stop, you just go whoosh, whoosh, and whip around and slam into the car in front of you. But you're dying, so your instinct is to hit the brakes, and then you slam, whip around and slam again. And yeah, it was terrifying.
Your facial expressions during that clip were
there were. I really thought I was going. And Don, my cameraman, heard me swearing, and he knew that I was in serious trouble because he knew there was no scenario where I would swear while the cameras were rolling, because we were an 8 o'clock show. And so if you swore or anyone swore, it was not usable. So I just wouldn't swear. And then he heard me and he went, "Oh, I think he might be dying." And then John, my director, went, "What?" Because they were shooting it, and then they managed to get a message to the guy who came out with the flag and stopped the entire thing. But I had to do it again. I had to do take 2.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Safe to take, right? Yeah, absolutely.
We get another angle on that.
You've done so much, and this book covers everything. One thing I wanted to mention that was really cool is you talk about your, meeting up with Belinda Stronach and doing the Spread the Net campaign. And I remember doing a fundraiser, it had been 15 years ago, where we donated proceeds to that as well. That was one of your, that wasn't directly associated with the show, but you do talk about that. And what was the, like, as a person who has a fairly large clout as a media person, you have to be fairly selective in what you get behind. Otherwise, your face will be on everything. What was the decision-making process that brought you to that one?
Well, I interviewed Belinda on the show when she was a Conservative member of Parliament. She had just famously ran for the leadership of the Conservatives. She got beaten quite badly by Stephen Harper. While she was running, she was asked, win or lose, will you run for election? And she said, yes, I will. No one ever does that, but she did. And she ran in Newmarket, which was a safe Liberal riding, and she got elected as a Conservative. I interviewed her, and it wasn't a very good interview. She was great off camera, but on camera, it just wasn't great because she was became evident to me, this was only a theory, that she was very unhappy being in the Conservatives. And gay marriage was a big thing at the time. The debate, Stephen Harper decidedly was against gay marriage, and she was for gay marriage. That was a big issue in the leadership campaign. So she just wasn't content. But off camera, we discussed the work of Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, who's this guy who's doing a lot of things in Africa, aid work in Africa. He was the United Nations lead guy there. And she said, I'm going to go to Africa one of these days and watch him in action. You should come with me. And I thought it was just the kind of thing a rich person says, like, we should get coffee, but their version is like, let's go to Africa. And so I didn't pay any attention to it. Then she sent me his latest book. I read it. I found it interesting. And then she crossed the floor famously. She became a Liberal. She became a cabinet minister. And her EA called me up and said, Belinda's going to Africa. She's going to follow Dr. Jeffrey Sachs around as a private citizen, not as a cabinet minister. Would you like to go? And I always avoided politicians. Like the most, I might have a cup of coffee with one in an airport, but in those days, I just avoided them. I didn't want to become friends with any of them. I just didn't think it would be prudent. But for some reason, I decided to take this trip, and it was quite an eye-opener. We went to like 6 countries, but we experienced, in some areas, we experienced poverty like I knew intellectually existed, but I didn't know what it was like to experience it. So we were in a place where there was nothing. Like there was no economy at all. There were no schools. There was nothing. There was nowhere to buy food. The crops that were growing were clearly failing. People were clearly unwell. There was no medical assistance. And I noticed there were no children around. And Dr. Sachs told us that in the previous year, most of the children had died. And I asked him, like, what's the difference between this place and where we were yesterday, which was only 500 kilometers away, and there was a school, and there was corn growing, and there was a small clinic, and there were children everywhere. And he said, well, you know, that community we were in, they had the inputs that they need. They had, well, for starters, they had bed nets, so the children didn't get malaria and die, but they also had, you know, fertilizer to grow the crops, and they had, you know, funding for the clinic, etc., which is what he was all about. And when we walked back to the van, Belinda said to me, well, I guess we're going to have to figure out a way to buy a lot of bed nets. And I said, what's a bed net cost? And she said, well, does it matter? I said, no, I guess not. And we started this organization called Spread the Net. Mm-hmm. And we fundraised like mad people for a couple of years, bought a lot of nets. I never mentioned it on the show because it's just not a funny subject for starters. And ultimately we were a comedy show. And I just never, it was like church and state. I never let those two things cross. And then we did a contest one week where we challenged high school students to raise money for Spread the Net. And we would come to their school and shoot a piece. And I thought we'd raise a couple of grand, maybe, if we were lucky. And it just took off like crazy. High school students from all over the country signed up. And then we started getting essentially hate mail from elementary school students who were going, what about us? Why can't we join? So eventually the contest spread. It was junior high, elementary school, high school. And over the years, millions and millions of dollars was raised. And I didn't do any of it. I didn't raise one of those dollars. It was all students around the country. And it was always the last or the second last episode of the show, and where I would travel around all these schools, and it was always my favorite show. I loved it. It was phenomenal. And Belinda and I became friends, and I just avoided talking about her on the show, and we're friends to this day. Yeah,
it's fantastic. You've had an amazing career, and now with these two books, you've really kind of summed up, you know, your sort of childhood, how you got into what you do. The development of 22 Minutes, and now with the new book, you've talked about, you know, the Mercer Report, and I mean, I started to make notes. You know, there's so much to talk to you about, Rick. But all I can say is for people like get the books, read them. It's a really interesting. It's funny still. It's entertaining, and it's great. You know, like you said, you set out to try and figure out what it means to be Canadian, and you realized how broad of a question that is. And I think that just, you know, in talking to people, you know, and like you say, talking to farmers through to, you know, politicians, you've covered so much ground, and it's amazing what you've done. It's amazing what you've done.
Thanks. I didn't know whether I would like writing a memoir. The first one I didn't like, and I was forced into it basically out of circumstance because it was a pandemic, and you know what it was like. Everyone in show business was told, oh, you have to go home and work. And you're like, well, I don't know how you do that in show business. You're unemployed from home. That's what that means. You started Whiskey Wednesday. I wrote a book, and I never would have done it had I been able to stay on the road or do, you know, work in television or whatever. So I did it out of necessity, and I found it hard to write. But this book I didn't find hard because it's just fun stories. And my rule was I was only going to do a story if it was funny. And I think people can use funny now more than ever. And I really enjoyed it. And I like the book writing business, but thank God I've run out of runway. There's no more memoirs because this one goes basically up to now. So I just have to figure out what to write about next. I don't know. It could be anything. It could be a book about a band. It could be anything.
Well,
I don't know.
You still got a lot of road ahead of you still. So maybe
sure, but there's not going to be a memoir.
It's not going to be a memoir. Exactly.
No.
Okay.
It was enough. Who am I, Alan Doyle?
What's that?
I said, well, we're going to write 3.
Yeah.
Who am I, Alan Doyle?
Who am I? Alan Doyle. That's funny. Love you, Alan. Absolutely. Rick is always a joy to talk to, and he's a very, very funny guy, and his book is fantastic. It's out now. You'll see it everywhere you go as you're out doing your Christmas shopping. I advise picking up a copy for yourself and everybody.
I was at a show on Saturday night, and there was a gentleman there named Adam Schultz, who is Canadian Geographic's official explorer. And anyway, he has just put a new book out, and he said, I'm really, really thrilled that I'm number 3 on the bestseller list. He said, behind Rick Mercer and Geddy Lee. But he said, what I'm really, really chuffed about is that number 4 is Britney Spears.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, that's good company all around. Stanley has decided that his face is going to go where my foot goes.
Come on,
and now
buddy.
we're just having a little moving session here. He's okay now. Steve Runyon's a great watch. Yeah, it's always nice to catch up with Richard Mercer. It was so weird that I said that. Every interview I do, well, not every interview, but most of the interviews I do, I end up talking about people's names and making weird commentary about them. Either way. We got a few more tunes to do for you, and then we'll get back to part 2. Part 2 of the Rick Mercer interview. It gets really quite interesting to a point where he says, "Oh no, not more of this horrible game." So I felt quite successful when he said that. This is another Ron Hines tune. They will all be Ron Hines tunes this evening. This is a song called "My Father's Ghost," and it goes just like this. Filled up with dread, his hands were clenched, his clothes were drenched. I knew that he was dead, and I turned away a moment, and I looked back and he was gone. And I went and I woke my mother. I said, "Mother, something's wrong. Something's wrong." He was here before a moment. Those were the words she spoke. I thought that I was dreaming, but it was an hour ago I woke. And I swear I heard him call my name in a horrid grinding sound. I swear, my dear, he's lost his way. His ship has run aground. It's run aground. Down and wake your brother and your baby sister too. Say nothing now of what's occurred, but say I have things to do. There's a shortwave radio up the cove for ship-to-shore distress. Go down and make some breakfast, and I'll get up and get dressed. Dawn was fairly breaking as she headed down the path where the waters crashed across the rocks with all its rage and wrath. But her heart had gone to ashes and the ice chewed through her bones. And her footsteps fell like granite as she came back home alone. Stood inside the doorway as she turned towards the cove. She took down the blessed crucifix and she burned it in the stove. But we all stood in the kitchen
like travelers in the rain, waiting on some distant platform to ride some lonely train. Well, that was 60 years ago, and my mother's in the ground. My brother and sister moved away and left me the house and the land. And I sell my socks and sweaters to the tourists from away. There's an empty old age pension, and it keeps the wolf at bay. And I count the days. And when the night comes stealing, he drifts in on the mist. He sits quietly here in his rocking chair so he won't disturb my rest. And when I wake from morning light, he's gone to sea once more. Go downstairs and light the stove, mop salt water from the floor. I mop salt water from the floor.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the Whiskey Wednesday show. Every Wednesday we will be here, rain or shine, richer or poorer. Tip jar is in the link above. Never expected but always appreciated. Never confuse the size of your paycheck with the size of your talent. I've got all the money I'll ever need if I die by midnight. Always appreciated, never expected. Please feel free to drop us a line regarding anything, including a link to your money. Cheers.
I was just saying that you've come a long way with that one, Dave. I remember when you were first sort of learning all these new grooves, we kept throwing this one in, and it's a particularly difficult one as it is. But that one has come a long way there, good sir.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites to play. I love the lyrics of that song.
Yeah, it's a nice. It's got a nice sort of groove and a flow to it. And it's long enough that you can get into it. It's got some ups and downs, but nothing huge.
No. And the storytelling of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you
That's
if you can get into the words, then you're totally sold.
Oh,
you're totally sold. Yeah.
It was over once I figured that.
That was My Father's Ghost by Ron Hines. We're going to do another song, another Ron Hines song, just before we get into the next part of the Rick video. Time is getting away from me as usual. Oh, yeah, so skateboarding. I know last week some of you saw this thing. Just going to show you for a minute. Isn't it beautiful? It's just gorgeous. It's a Land Yachts. It's a really nice skateboard. It's huge, and it's got the creature from the Black Lagoon in a nudie suit with a cowboy hat. I think it's pretty awesome. Yes, the online will Ken, should Ken skate again debate is still happening. And so I've got the new deck. I got it last week. I went out last Friday. I thought I'm going to give this a try. Ended up pulling my leg. Not pulling my leg. I just sort of hurt my calf. I haven't moved in 2 years, for God's sakes. But I had been before that. I'm trying to get some movement in my life. There are days that I get up and I go from the bed to where Allison is and do what we need to with Allison. She gets into her wheelchair. I'll go to the kitchen table. Then I'm there for an hour on the computer. And then I get up and me and Allison have some lunch. And then shortly after that, I'll do a little bit of work. And then she gets back into bed. And I go and have a little rest. Then it's dinner time. And by the end of the day, I haven't moved a hell of a lot. I'm in the house all the time. It's really hard. And I don't know if anybody out there is like that. If you're out there and you want to get back into skateboarding, I recommend it. I really do. But I will tell you one trick that I've been working with. And this is a word to the wise. These guys did send this to me, so I didn't buy it, but they sent it to me when they read online about what I was doing. This thing is called the whirly board. It's like a skateboard, but it's got these pads. So what I've been doing with it, and it's got grip tape and everything on it, just like a skateboard. You can see where my feet have been. I've been using this thing to just kind of get limber. And you know what I found really fun the last few nights is I get a hard chair like this, and I sit down when I'm watching TV at the night, and I put that on the floor in front of me, and I just kind of roll my feet around, and I do that for like an hour. And oh my God, does it ever feel good? And sometimes I close my eyes and I pretend like I'm skateboarding, and I kind of lean into it a little bit. It's a real neat thing. So the whirly board, if you want to sort of use your own virtual reality in your mind and go skateboarding, that's great. Or if you want to just kind of get in shape, and do the whole exercise routine with it. I haven't gotten into that. You do push-ups with it and the whole thing. I haven't gotten into that. But I tell you, for what I'm doing, it's great. But skateboarding, should, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Right now, it's just another ridiculous thing that Ken does.
Ken to that.
No, it's will or should. With the 20th century still in bloom, in fair conception, babe. Oh, the world turned round and men were bound, all for the USA, all for the USA. Onto the streets of a New York town, they poured like morning tides to raise the concrete and the steel up to the New York sky, up to the New York sky. Can you read and write? Can you drink and fight? Can you take the nights alone? You can make a life for a child and a wife while far away from home, while far away from home. Tip your hat to a Chelsea girl, she'll free you from the cold. She'll lend a tender, loving ear to every story told, to every story told. Have you got the hands, have you got the heart, have you got the cold steel nerve? You can rant and roar on a New York floor, you'll get what you deserve, you'll get what you deserve. Well, there's them who'll fold and them who'll freeze and crawl home in dismay and curse the hand of God above. They'll break right down and pray. They'll break right down and pray. With the 20th century still in bloom, in fair conception, babe. Oh, the world turned round and men were bound, all for the USA, all for the USA. A little Ron Hines' portrait of early 20th century Newfoundlanders living in New York. Hey, Scott Knoftel, how you doing? Thank you very much. We are having fun tonight. Just as somebody else here who just dropped in, not that I'm ignoring everybody else, Joe and Debbie, I do see you all. Lisa Anthony, yes, see, and Lawrence Bell. Nice to see you, Lawrence. That's Larry, right? Yep. Lawrence Bell, Larry the Cucumber. You're going to stop tuning in because I say that every time you tune in. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That's why he tunes in.
That's why he tunes in. Okay, there you go. There you go. Smoke a big joint and look up Larry the Cucumber online.
All the way from Texas.
Actually, I know. Maybe don't do that. I'm not sure what that will bring. Hey, Llewellyn Thomas, man. It is so nice to see your face. Oh, man, I have been thinking about you a lot these days, Llewellyn. Thinking back to the days of NRK when we used to jam at the French Society. Oh, man, that was so much fun. What a friggin' time. What a friggin' time. Llewellyn and Ethel, it's great to see you both. Man, was that ever good. Brian Tench, lovely to see you, my friend. Lovely to see you. Oh, we got the whole gang here tonight. We're going to get into part 2 of Rick Mercer's video. But before we do that, I just want to mention one thing. As you know, the Whiskey Wednesday magazine comes out every week. And by every week, I mean every month. And Allison writes sort of anywhere from 20 to 25 pages on each episode that we do. and that goes out in the magazine once a month. It's a great way to catch up on it's really neat. And more than a magazine, like, first it was called the Whiskey Wednesday Wrap Up, and then it was the Whiskey Wednesday Magazine. We have now changed it to the Whiskey Wednesday Fanzine, which seems to actually, there's a quote that goes with it, and Alison will explain it in the fanzine. You'll have to get it to watch it. It's free, as always. You just need to go to the website and sign up. And by the way, if you sign up at the website, I don't hit you you'll get a message every month maybe, but you're not going to be getting hit with buy my records shit all the time. But it is a great way to get the magazine, or you can just go to the website and get it. It'll be out next week. I think by the weekend is the plan, but it looks so damn good, and the whole sort of fanzine thing is just great. So Alison will explain that all to you. We're really excited for that. Without any further ado, and without much ado, here is the second part of the Rick Mercer interview, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, before we go, Rick,
Yes.
I'm going to do a little thing here. I was just sort of digging through some records this morning. I thought, I wonder what Rick would choose. And then I thought, I'm going to play a little game here.
Oh.
You like a
This
little
is-
game?
Well, I have to put my old man glasses on.
You
I can
do.
tell.
You got to get rid of one of these albums. We're going to do a few of them.
Oh no, no.
Monk's
Bad
Bad.
Habits. Bad
Or
Habits. What a
Generation X,
great
which-
album.
And Generation X, if you get rid of this one, you're also getting rid of all of Billy Idol too. So which
Oh,
one's
so
which
I'm
one goes?
erasing him from the.
Yeah.
Well, Generation X. Wow.
I know.
I love Bad Habits. It's a great album. There's like so many hits on it, and it was,
Yeah.
as far as I know, it was only a hit album in
Canada.
Canada.
I know.
Like, they don't know this music
No.
elsewhere. And where are they from?
They're from England. They're called the Straubs. It was actually the Straubs. They were a pop band,
Right.
and they wanted to put out a record. They
Yeah.
were actually called they weren't
Nice
called
Legs, Shame About Her Face.
Yeah. Oh, it's got
Terrible
all
song and would never be recorded today. Thank
No.
God.
But everybody in England turned their backs on them because they were a pop act. So they actually put it out through a French label. And when
Yeah.
they were talking to the French person, they said the name of the band. I think it was the Monks, but the French
Right.
translator called it the Monks. And when they got the artwork, it was said the Monks. It wasn't even the name of the band that they had chosen.
Did they tour here? Did they come over?
Yes. Actually, I don't know if they toured here, but they were majorly successful in Canada.
Yeah, that album was a huge hit, and there was a follow-up album that did nothing, right?
Did nothing. No. Yeah,
And then
that was really
the
album.
Monks stopped. Okay.
Next going up here. This is a really tough one.
Well, yeah, like what am I playing? Who Must Die and Who Must Live?
Absolutely.
Bob Dylan or Jimi Hendrix?
Absolutely.
Well, I guess I'd have to say, well, Bob had produced a bit more music.
True enough. So we're going on volume with this one. It's Bob has more.
We'd have to say, I'll have to keep Bob.
I think this one will be easy for you. Rush or REM?
I'm not answering that question. I'm Captain Canada, for God's sakes.
This
I
one-
just can't do
will be
that.
easy.
He said
This
he'd
one will
get
be
rid of
easy.
Rush.
We got Crowded
Punch.
House or Radiohead.
You know what? Both great albums, but I'm agnostic on both of them.
Oh, good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Were you like big Radiohead guy?
No, just the Bends. The Bends I love.
Yeah,
The rest of the records they didn't
I
hit me.
didn't own either one of those as CDs.
No?
No,
Oh, the Bends is a great record. And REM are great.
REM are fantastic.
Okay, this one is terribly hard. You've got Prince and you've got the Beastie Boys.
Oh no, I would take Purple Rain. I would take Prince.
Oh, good choice.
I appreciate the Beastie Boys, but again, it was not something that I ever listened to extensively.
And Purple Rain was part of our youth and part of our growing up.
Sure.
You know,
And I didn't know you could make a movie like that
Yeah.
at the
really.
time.
Yeah.
It was kind of mind-blowing, yeah. And
It
well,
was
no one
great.
really has done it since. Like that.
No. Bad Brains or the Clash.
Oh, I'd keep the Clash, of course.
Yeah, I knew you would do that one.
Yeah.
I knew you would do that one.
Yeah.
How is it you played drums in grade 7 and 8 and you never ended up playing drums with any of us once we got to
I
high
wasn't good enough.
nobody was good enough back then.
I know. Like, had I had my time back, I probably could have. I played drums twice on the show, and once was with the Trues, Not Ready to Go, and which was great fun. But that's basically as simple a song. It's a great rock and roll song, but it's as simple a song as anyone could, play the drums on. And that was really exciting for me. That was a real rock star experience because it was in front of a crowd and everything. That was fun.
That's very cool. And that's the only drum you've ever done.
That's the only drumming in public I've ever done. Then, of course, I got the drum lesson from Neil Peart, which was a little nerve-wracking, but
Of course it was.
everything you do, it was always best if you could do something a little bit. You know, I'm an okay skater, not much of a skater, but I'm happy to play hockey against NHL players or figure skate with a Canadian champion because I can skate a little bit. If you can't skate at all, it's really not that interesting of a segment. And so luckily with Neil Peart, I could play a little bit. If I'd never sat behind a drum kit, something like that wouldn't have really worked. So no matter what I was doing, I always tried my best. It would be always good if you had a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Like there's no point going, okay, I'll try to ride the unicycle if you don't actually know how to do it a little bit. Otherwise, you're just flopping off the unicycle for 5.5 minutes. But I digress.
Which is
let this horrible game continue.
Let the horrible game continue. I know. We got the Stray Cats and we got the Replacements.
I'd keep the Replacements.
Okay. I'm with you on that one. As much
But
as
these are good, but these are like Sophie's Choice.
I know this is all horrible. And this
No, it's good.
this last
and
one
now
that
it's
we're gonna-
making me go, I should listen to that. I haven't listened to that in a long time.
The last one is very tough. And this one, I don't even think I could choose on this one, but check out. You've got Figgy Duff or the one for Grand.
Oh. Well, you know, the Wonderful Grand Band was the most influential comedy act in my life.
Yeah.
And also Ron Hines, who is the lead singer of the band portion, is Newfoundland's greatest songwriter. And I think you've heard of him. And this is killer. But I would obviously have to pick the Wonderful Grand Band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figgy,
And also Ron was a buddy of mine. And I didn't know the Figgy Duff crowd.
okay, well that makes sense. I didn't know the Figgy Duff crowd well. I mean, I knew them.
I knew him a little bit.
Through a little bit, you know. But Figgy Duff, I think, had probably a stronger mark on the traditional Newfoundland style of things than Ron did. But Ron had a further reach, I think, with his
for sure
his brilliant song.
And Figgy Duff, without Figgy Duff, there wouldn't have been a grand band.
Exactly. That's
it's
sort of the thing,
just
isn't it?
all progressive and there was crossover, of course. Kelly played with both. Kelly Russell, didn't he? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Kelly was in the grand band.
Yeah.
Not on that album, I don't think, or at least not in the TV show then. But Kelly played with both.
Yeah, there was a lot of crossover, and I mean they were all good friends and all that. They were all doing things at the same time. So that one was a little bit unfair, as they all were. Sorry about springing a shitty.
No, that's good. And you have the vinyl. I don't have vinyl, and you know, the world is so weird now. I go like, oh, I don't have that record, but of course I can listen to it in a second on my phone. But I feel like if the Stray Cats was on vinyl over there, I'd listen to it occasionally. Whereas I never listen to it, and it's in my phone. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Too. It forces me, which is really nice. Yeah.
But I'm not a vinyl guy. I could never. I'd be a pretender. Is there a word for someone who has a vinyl collection, but it's a completely pretend? What would you call that person? Like, oh, I have this huge vinyl collection that I never ever play. What would that person be? Like vinyl for looks.
It would have to be somebody with just a lot of money, you know, because records are too expensive right now to have. You know, you're paying $50 to $70 for a record now.
What? Yeah. See, I didn't know that. But of course, these are the days we live in where you go, $3.50 for a Kit Kat? Are you crazy? I didn't know records cost that much. Like the new Ron Hines tribute
35
album.
is the lowest you'll get.
How much is the new Ron tribute album, which is beautiful, and I do have that on vinyl, although I have nothing to play it on. Like that would be like $50 or something?
I'm sure it's 40, 45. I mean, Fred's do things a little bit differently because Fred's deals with a lot of local artists, so they'll have $25, $30 pricing. But the average price for a new piece of vinyl is $35, and if it's something special, it'll be up to $70, $75.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well,
so
that's an addiction I don't have.
Hmm?
That's an addiction I don't have. That's good.
Well, that's one.
Yeah. Now I finally got around to cleaning up my basement, and there's like literally 350 CDs.
Yeah.
They're all junk.
Yeah.
But I can't bring myself to throw them out because every time I go, oh, that's good. But I actually don't even have anything to play it on anymore. And half of them are probably corrupted by now.
No, they'll stay forever. CDs won't change.
Yes, they will.
Nah.
I remember when the CD was on the cover of Time magazine and they were heralding the CD. And this is how, talk about hype. I remember in the article, they said, if your house burns down and if all that's left is ash, people will be able to go in and take the CDs out, rinse them under warm water, and you'll get pristine sound. They were that's how they were sold. Amazing sound and indestructible. And of course, neither was true.
No, neither was true. No, I'm kind of over the CD thing. You know, there was a few years where I was like, oh, CDs are disappearing, blah, blah, blah. And then once I started getting back to vinyl, and as you say, you know, I pay the $14 a month. I have every album ever put out in the world right here on my phone that I can listen to at any point in time. So,
but I hate, like, I just listened to the Trans-Canada Highwayman.
Mhm.
Have you heard that album?
I haven't heard the album yet.
It's
Is it
great.
good?
It's
Of course
great.
it's great.
But
Yeah.
it bugged the hell out of me that I was giving them 4 cents and not
I-
$5.
Yeah.
Not that I'm running around wanting to pair with $5, but it just, and I kind of thought, like, you know, you got 4 great lead singers, Chris Murphy from Sloan,
Yep.
you know, Steve Page, and you know, people like me buying the record. Well, I'm not buying the record, I'm just listening to the record. And what am I giving them? How much am I giving them, Ken?
Zero.
5
I mean,
cents?
if you're listening to it,
Zero.
it's nothing. Nothing. You got to listen to it 500 times before it turns into pennies.
You mean I'm not giving them anything?
Well,
I
you-
listened to it like 4 or 5 times, but
4 or 5 times, probably a nickel.
wow.
Yeah.
Good. No wonder you guys never get off the road.
Oh, it's
What
ridiculous.
kind of life?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's a great album, Trans-Canada Highwayman. I highly recommend it. If you like 70s Canadian music, because it's all covers, right? It's great.
Well, it's great. And you've got the Pursuit of Happiness, The Odds, Bare Naked Ladies, and
Long.
Sloan. I mean, 4 amazing Canadian bands on their own doing Canadian super
Yeah.
music. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all great producers and instrumentalists. So
Tonight is what is it? Tonight is a wonderful night to fall in love. And Undone,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Sugar, and yeah, it's just fun.
It's a fun record. Yeah.
And the first time I listened to it, I intentionally, and I've never actually done this, I don't think, I knew it was all covers and I didn't look. I just was like,
Yeah.
so then everyone was a surprise.
Surprise.
Oh, well, very good.
I'm gonna go give that a listen right now. Actually,
I'm a sucker for that
sort of-
era. Some people
I've dabbled
aren't.
into it a little bit.
Like
but I'm
Which
gonna
Way
go-
You Going, Billy? Not everyone wants to hear another version of that, but
Really?
I'm happy to.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Rick, again, thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I know you're real busy. It's great to see you face to face. What are you using in your hair these days? Is that a gel or is it a mousse or is this all natural?
There's one right here.
What is it?
It's like a pomade.
It's a pomade you use, eh?
It's the same thing I've used for 25 years.
And what brand is it? Come on, give it a
And
shot.
I'm not telling you what brand it is.
For
Not
25
unless they
years,
send
you've
me
been
a
so
bloody case. And I
Yeah.
tell you, that was the one thing I missed after 15 years on television. I had to go buy my own pomade. There was always one around.
Well, Rick, thank you
It's
very
like
much.
getting out of
and
prison. That's my hardship.
That's your
Person
heart.
complains, has to buy his own pomade. Yeah.
Everything else is good in your world?
Everything is good.
Okay, and you've ditched
What do you
the
put
suit?
in your hair?
I got nowhere to put anything in these days.
You must put something in the beard.
Oh, every now and again I'll put a little bit of beard oil in it. But you know,
That's the thing, eh? Beard oil.
yeah,
good
I don't
one.
know what it does, but I got some. It makes
I
it
wasn't
smell
aware
like
of that,
wood.
really.
Makes it smell like wood and leather. I guess it's supposed to make me smell sexy. But
Wood and leather.
I don't know who's calling me. Good Lord, go away. Sorry about that.
That's all right, Bob.
Yeah.
All right, we digressed into.
We digressed, exactly. And you've got a busy day, and I've got to get back to Allison. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for taking the time to come on the show.
Good
It's really
seeing you.
good to see you. Best of luck on the book and the rest of the tour. How
You
much
were just here, right? You just played the Danforth Music Hall. Or is
Last-
that coming up?
last weekend? Yeah.
Yeah, last weekend, and I was on the road.
Yeah.
Right, you graciously offered me tickets, and I was in Winnipeg, wasn't I?
I think you were in Winnipeg. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what we've been doing for 25 years, Rick, just crossing paths on the road.
Yeah. There you go.
Days we'll see each other face to face again, I'm sure.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, buddy, you take care. We'll talk to you
Cheers.
soon. Good day.
Oh my.
Yes, that made me laugh. That was quite funny. Oh my, that was quite funny. I've been blessed by the people in my life. And these people aren't coming on the show because of our massive viewership. No, I mean you can catch Rick Mercer on all of the national morning shows right now for hundreds of thousands of viewers at a time. But it's always so nice that everybody likes to come on the show here and hang out and have a bit of fun. So thanks again to Rick for being so cool and hanging out and letting me play that horrible game with him.
That was mean, man.
It was pretty mean, yeah. Oh my. So let's do 1962. Yeah, I want to do 1962. This is the first song I played with Ron. Before we get to it, though, while I'm tuning and checking here, the Aaron Christmas show is coming next week. Is it? Is it December yet? No, it's almost December. Here we go. We've got Ben Finley and Anais as well, his partner, who's not on the poster. Sorry, Ben, I missed that. James Higgins, Lindsay Barr, Foxy and the Fam, the Island Brothers, S.J. Riley, Dave Papple, Sugarlips. The North Lumberlads actually will not be appearing, I just heard today. They are raising money for something in some part of the world. Sean Nelson is going to be there. The Goats, that's us, will be there. Stump Grinder and the Roots will be there. Janet Jeffrey Band. Justin Cooper, the McGregor Trio, Cindy McCready, the Hippie Chicks, Lawrence Cotton, Joanna Fisher. That's David Fisher's sister. By the way, Joanna, she's coming into town, so she'll be there. So, oh man, wouldn't it be great if Fisher was there? I don't know if he's going to be there or not. He better be. His sister is playing. Anybody out there knows Dave Fisher? Text him right now. Make sure he knows that his sister is playing in Toronto, in Campbellford next week. And who else we got there? Jane Archer and Wildwind, Stephanie and Graham from Wildwind over in Hastings. Another great local act. So they're going to be a lot of fun. Everybody's doing a Christmas tune. So it's going to be and Carrie and friends, who I'm still trying to figure out who's in that band. It's nice to put these things together, and I appreciate the bands, sort of respecting the flow of the evening. With that many bands, it is always tough to keep it running on time, but we have it down to a really good system. We've got great people who work on the shows with us, and great bands that come and I hate to sort of say it, but come and do what they're told, because there's so many moving parts when you've got 20 odd bands playing, and it's great when everybody just kind of is at the side of the stage, all tuned up with their instruments, while the band before them is playing. The band finishes, unplugs. There's a couple of us standing up there. We unplug for them. The next band comes on. You plug in, and you play. It's that quick of a changeover. It's great. And we have everything all set up, so it's a really nice time. It's at the Heron Theatre next Thursday night. Great way to kick off the season. We're just learning that Jane Archer tune, and it's real sweet. This goes out to Ron Hines tonight, and to Rick Mercer, and to Mike Wade, and Mercedes, and Phil, and Janice, and Robbie, Andrew. Clarky, if you're listening, this one's for you tonight too, brother. And I hope you're still there. Joey Smallwood. When I grew up, I had a place out on the Roaches Line, and before I discovered skateboarding, I wanted a mini bike, but my parents wouldn't let me, so I had this little Yamaha scooter, which was like a three gear sort of automatic motorcycle thing, with a big sort of leg guard. Looks like a Vespa, but old school. And I used to dirt bike up around all the trails out there. And I used to cut through Joey's yard. Joey lived down the road from us, and I'd drive through his yard, and sometimes he'd be out and he'd shake a fist at me from across the field. And Dad used to always say, "Don't let that fucker catch you." And I dreamed it was 1962. I dropped a quarter in the jukebox and I played a song for you. I kissed you by the Pinball King. We're listening
to Del Shannon sing. I had all his records, he was my favorite then. And that's all gone, it won't come back again. That's all gone, it won't come back again. I woke and I put on my father's shoes. I stood out on the front porch like he used to do. Stepped across the morning sands. The skyline only showed a sign of rain. Mine would be the only footprints that remain. That's all gone, won't come back again. That's all gone, it won't come back again. There was something I meant to say, too many words got in the way. And I dreamed that it was 1962. I lit a fire on a beach and I lay in the sand with you. We'd sing songs until the rains would come. Straight across the fields we would run. You wrapped your sweater around my first guitar. I walked you home. That's all gone, I won't come back again. That's all gone, won't come back again. It was something I meant to say, too many words got in the way. And I dreamed that it was 1962. I dropped a quarter in the jukebox and I played a song for you. I kissed you by the Pinball King. We were listening to Del Shannon sing. I had all his records, he was my favorite then. Well, him and Robin Wilson, that's all gone, it won't come back again. That's all gone, it won't come back again. Hey, 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 hey.
Oh, great fun, great fun, great fun. Everybody, thank you so much. We're going to call it there. Well, it's 9:13. We should finish off with Sonny, eh? Sure. Yeah, we should. We should finish off with Sonny because that second edible is just kicking in. I'd like to get a little bit more. Yeah, see, here I am putting on my capo, Mr. Grant. Look at me. This is just like lighting a cigarette when you've already got one in your hands. Double capoing it here. Okay, we'll do a little. Hey, Mick, nice to see you, brother. Mike Arthur, nice to see you. Clarky, it's funny, eh? Clarky, thanks, Kenny. Yes, I know. It is funny though, Clark, because like when I hear your name being said by somebody, it's always Mike Bueller in my head, and it's always like that Mike Bueller, you know, Clarky. It's just like it's the funniest thing because
that makes Mike sound really, really intelligent.
He's just got one of those voices. I just think that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Clark, I don't know if you've been watching the last few weeks. I know you've been busy, as we all are these days. But I've been talking a lot about you because I've been thinking a lot about you, man. I miss you so much, and I don't know what it is. I've just been seeing you a lot in my head, and I hope you're all good. Hope you're well out there in the world. Sonny lives on a farm in a wide open space. You can kick off your shoes, you can give up the race. You can lay down your head
by a sweet riverbed, and Sonny always remembers what it was his mama said. Sonny, don't go away, I am here all alone, and your daddy's a sailor who never comes home, and these nights get so long, and the silence goes on, and I'm feeling so tired, I'm not all that strong. It's 100 miles to town, Sonny's never been there, and he goes to the highway and he stares and he stares, and he watches the seas from a room by the stairs, and the waves keep on rolling, they've done that for years. Sonny, don't go away, I am here all alone, and your daddy's a sailor who never comes home, and these nights get so long, and the silence goes on, and I'm feeling so tired, I'm not all that strong. It's 100 miles to town, Sonny's never been there, and he goes to the highway and he stares and he stares, and he watches the seas from a room by the stairs, and the waves keep on rolling, they've done that for years. But what about his dreams? Sonny's dreams. Sonny's dreams can't be real, they're just stories he's read. Stars in his eyes, they're just dreams in his head, and he's hungry inside for the wide world outside, and I know I'll never hold him, though I've tried and I've tried. Sonny, don't go away, I am here all alone, and your daddy's a sailor who never comes home, and these nights get so long, and the silence goes on, and I'm feeling so tired, I'm not all that strong. Sonny, don't go away, I am here all alone, your daddy's a sailor who never comes home, and these nights get so long, and the silence goes on, and I'm feeling so tired, I'm not all that strong.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another fantastic show. Just a great, great chance for me to clear my head. And I hope it's done the same for some of y'all. Barry, how you feeling tonight?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah, things are good.
Things are good? How long has it been without a cigarette now?
Oh, it's a little over 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
I know.
So good, man. Big round of applause for Barry, everybody, for kicking the habit. Yeah, that's amazing. Everybody else is good. Anybody got anything to announce? Anything need to be said?
Oh, hi to my brother Al down in Costa Rica, man. Hope it's nice and warm down there.
Yeah, lucky Al. Good for you, brother. Good for you.
We'll see you later in the season.
Is Toby gone down yet?
I don't know.
Oh, Toby, shout out and hello to you, whether you're there or not, either way. Well, folks, thank you very much. Tonight for the video rewind, we've got, back when we were doing interviews originally, I used to take a request from the people we were interviewing or learn a song, and Rick had mentioned that he was a fan of Coast to Coast Fever, so we learned it for him. So we're going to end the night with a little Coast to Coast Fever. And remember, before we get to that, when you're out there, it's getting to be Christmas season. People are getting really busy. They're really looking for parking spaces. They're really frustrated. Everything's overpriced. Everybody's underpaid. It's still a crush out there. That's why I don't talk about it in here. But if you have to be out there in the time when you're not here, remember to just try and be nice to people and be kind and be like Steve. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. We learned a song for you when you first watched the Whiskey Wednesday show. You said to me, "Do you know David Whiffen from Ottawa?" And
Yes.
I did some research, but last week when we were talking, you mentioned a song called "Coast to Coast Fever."
Yeah.
So
David Whiffen. I was spending time in the Gatineau outside of Ottawa
Right.
with friends of my partners, and they're all Ottawa Valley guys, and they were big into Ron Hines, and I was playing Ron Hines, and they liked Ron Hines too, and then they suggested that David Whiffen was their Ron Hines, and I can remember thinking, well, we'll see about that, and we put the record on. It was vinyl. It was David Whiffen, Coast to Coast Fever. And in many ways, I believe he is, because, as you know, everyone from Newfoundland and Labrador and your fans certainly know how much we admire Ron, and we believe that he should be there with the Jonies and the Neils, and he belongs there. But David Whiffen is one of those characters, and I don't want to speak for anyone in Ontario or who were fans of his. I think he had a lot of fans, but certainly in my generation, I'd never heard tell of him. And the Coast to Coast Fever album, pretty close to perfect as far as a singer-songwriter goes. It's a pretty amazing album, and so that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to this.
So this is a David Whiffen song that Rick Mercer asked us to play, and it's a song called "Coast to Coast Fever." It goes just like this: 2, 3. 17, he started to try some things been on his mind. Living the life of a man on the go and having a real good time. She came along with not much to show, but he used to think she was fine. Before she left, the money was spent on a good times, whiskey and wine. Now it's a bar, stools and blinkers. Couldn't sleep yet anyway, but it's low inside. The taste of fame has turned the tide. He's got a coast to coast fever, a highway on his mind. 7 years passed alone at last. He decided to hit the road. With his mind on fire and a heart full of ashes, he carried his heavy load. He played his tunes for empty rooms right on down the line. But before he went, the money got spent on a good time, whiskey and wine. Now it's a bar, stools and blinkers. Couldn't sleep yet anyway. It's low inside. The taste of fame has turned the tide. He's got a coast to coast fever, a highway on his mind. Ship came in, he was tired and thin, and he didn't know what lay in store. The people came around and the rooms were filled. They were busting through the door. He drew the crowds and they cheered so loud. Well, it made them feel so fine. Before they went, the money got spent on a good times, whiskey and wine. Now it's a bar, stool and blinkers. Couldn't sleep yet anyway. Now it's low inside. The taste of fame has turned the tide. He's got a coast to coast fever, a highway on his mind.
sits alone like there's no one home, just staring at the door. The bottle keeps him company and he wonders what he stays here for. It's when he drew the crowds and they cheered so loud, made him feel so fine. But before he went, the money got spent on good times, whiskey and wine. Now it's a bar stool and blinkers, couldn't sleep yet anyway. It's low inside, the taste of fame has turned the tide. He's got a coast-to-coast fever, the highway on his mind. It's a bar, stools and blinkers, couldn't sleep yet anyway. But it's low inside, the taste of pain has turned to tide. He's got a coast-to-coast fever, the highway on his mind. He's got a coast-to-coast fever, highway on his mind.
I'll admit it, all those mistakes were mine. Yeah, we're doing the weekly. Once again, thanks for spending another Wednesday with us here at Storyhouse Studios. Thanks to Trainer, Yorkville, and the Longtooth Beverage Company for being a part of the show. We love our time on the Whiskey Wednesday show and appreciate all of your support. Don't forget to hit up the tip jar if you feel so inclined. Never expected, but always appreciated. Tune in every week for more guests, songs, stories, drinks, and gear talk. And don't forget to visit the website, www.kentizzard.com, to sign up for the Whiskey Wednesday wrap-up. Compiled by Allison, this is a monthly overview with highlights, directories of songs, and so much more. Be kind, be helpful, be happy, be safe. See you next week.
On a Jim Beam.